Hina witnesses her mother being dragged into the abyss, but not before her mother gives her a glass orb with 10,000 inside it and tells her to find the legendary ace with the white star. Hina searches for 5 years until one day she meets Licht, a masked perverted idiot, and his boss, Nana, who explains that all people are forced to obey orders from anyone with a higher number. Hina explains her number, 441, comes from having walked 44,100 kilometers. She meets a sergeant major with a star on his face who claims to be the ace. He attempts to molest her until she shows him the 10,000 orb, which he identifies as a ballot and tries to take it from her. As Hina has a higher number, she orders him to stop, so he tricks her into a star stake, a duel wagering their numbers, and after severely beating her he takes 440 from her, leaving her with only 1. He reveals he is not the ace as the legend of the ace is 300 years old, meaning the ace is long dead. Licht suddenly arrives and wagers his own number, -999. As they duel, the sergeant realizes such a number is impossible, unless Licht is a ballot holder with a numbered ballot to artificially raise his number back above 0. Licht reveals himself as Lichtbach, the real legendary ace, with a white star and 57-0 printed on his sword, the number of enemies he has defeated. He swears he will force the sergeant to give back Hina's 440. Centuries ago, a great war known as the Waste War raged across the planet. A group of warriors known as aces distinguished themselves with feats of superhuman strength, only to vanish once the war ended. Licht easily defeats the soldiers with his super speed, showing that his footsteps contain enough power to shatter the ground. Nana explains Licht's speed earned him the name Ace of Flashing Strikes, and that while his 57-0 is the number of his defeated enemies, his -999 is the number of women who have rejected him. Licht easily defeats the sergeant, reducing his number to 1 and giving Hina not only her stolen 440, but the rest of his number as well, raising Hina's number to 760. Licht suddenly steals Hina's 10,000 ballot, leaving her a stuffed doll in exchange. Hina is devastated at losing her memento of her mother. Nana later reveals Licht hid the ballot in the doll and only pretended to steal it in front of witnesses, since ballots are illegal, meaning the soldiers will only search for him and leave Hina alone. Hina tearfully tries to stop Licht leaving, but when he ignores her pleas she shouts that she hates him, changing his -999 to -1000. Hina is suddenly confronted by one of the soldiers who reveals he is actually a spy. He thanks her for helping him and informs his real masters that Licht has finally been located. The army ignores Hina and begins looking for Licht, believing him to have the ballot. Master Sergeant Lin Mei and her subordinate, Sergeant Pielpaporo, are stationed in a peaceful village where Lin spends her time volunteering, as her count goes up based on how many desperate people she helps. Based on a description of Licht, Lin apprehends a nearby masked man, who coincidentally does happen to be Licht, but he holds onto his mask by revealing his -1000 and crying over the women who rejected him. Following terrible advice from Peel, Lin tries to help Licht feel better with a pity date, only for Licht's typical groping behavior to actually cause Lin's count to rise as the groping helps the desperately perverse Licht feel better. Peel suddenly points out that Licht's -1000 means he must be a ballot holder, something Lin had not yet figured out, so she removes his mask, revealing his identity. Licht steals her sword, only to realize Lin is also a martial artist. During their short fight she becomes so flustered by Licht's flirting he manages to escape when she closes her eyes expecting a kiss, greatly irritating her. A lieutenant named Jael Murdoch interrogates Nana to learn Licht's whereabouts, destroying her food wagon when she tries to lie, and then in setting Hunt Licht down. Following Licht's escape, Lin continues her volunteer work but is despondent over having lost a potential promotion. However, Licht reappears so she chases him through the village where several misunderstandings lead the villagers to think she and Licht are having a lover's quarrel, and Licht escapes again when she complains about her uniform always exposing her underwear. Hina decides she must warn Licht about Lieutenant Murdoch but cannot as they must first rebuild Nana's wagon. Licht wonders about the villagers who seem more interested in living peacefully than helping catch criminals. Lin keeps being distracted from chasing him by the villagers' problems and Licht comes to admire her, revealing himself again so Lin can enjoy continuing to chase him. Licht suddenly saves Lin from being hurt when Murdoch and his soldiers attack him. Murdoch's number is revealed to be 900, along with his ballot that allows him to create iron weapons, hence his nickname Iron Jail. Licht is surprisingly overwhelmed and Murdoch reveals he keeps his real number hidden from his superiors to avoid a promotion that would put him behind a desk in an office instead of hunting criminals. His true number is 12,500, over twice Licht's number. Murdoch succeeds in taking Licht's sword but gives it back. He reveals his number represents his convictions, and that his iron weapons are strengthened by his convictions and have never been cut. He traps Licht so Licht surrenders. Murdoch accuses Licht of once being a soldier based on his fighting style. When Licht refuses to answer, Murdoch decides to torture him, but Lin steps in and is injured. Murdoch, disgusted by Lin's failure to punish criminals in favor of her charity work, berates her. Lin almost apologizes until Licht stops her. He breaks free from his restraints, revealing he was always capable of breaking the Murdoch's iron. As he and Murdoch unleash their true powers, Licht demands he apologize for assuming Lin is lazy when she constantly works harder than everyone. Their fight collapses a cliff, sending Lin falling, and a repentant Murdoch tries to catch her, but Licht catches her first. He calls her heavy, angering her, causing his count to decrease to -1001. He then passes her to Murdoch, who lets him escape. Realizing Licht was right, Murdoch creates a play area for the village children from his iron, deciding to give Licht a 3-day head start before resuming his search, with Lin joining him. Licht is found by Hina and Nana and learns that after his fight against Iron Jail Murdoch, all the roads have been blocked. Hina appears jealous Licht was fighting for another woman and scolds him for leaving her behind. Licht is forced to save a girl named Pelmo from falling to her death in an experimental airplane. Pelmo asks Licht and Hina to help make her dream of flight come true, even though researching flight is a crime punishable by death. Licht modifies her latest design, but worries he has only put her in danger despite Hina praising him. Hina asks what Licht's dream is, but he refuses to reveal it, instead claiming it is to see her panties. Pelmo interrupts, having finished the new airplane. Soldiers arrive and Licht is forced to destroy the airplane. The soldiers leave after being convinced the wings were broken when null sails. An abyss suddenly opens up and Pelmo reveals her count was based on her dreams coming true, but it went down each time her airplanes failed to fly, and now it has reached 0. Hina tries to save her, but the abyss fights back. Licht tries to save Hina, but when the abyss hits his sword he suffers a violent flashback. Pelmo happily enters the abyss, convinced it is not death but the door to another world, and promises to see them again one day. Licht almost passes out as numbers flash in his left eye. Licht considers leaving but decides to stay after Hina talks in her sleep asking him to stay. Lin catches up to Licht and thanks him for saving her, but then tries to arrest him. With Lin and Hina having met, they swap stories of how they know Licht and become mad at him. Nana arranges a cooking battle between Lin and Hina to draw in customers, with Licht as the prize. Lin buys vegetables while Hina traps wild beasts, showing she is intimidatingly skilled at killing dangerous animals. Lin creates a vegetable stew while Hina creates a meat stew with a deadly aura. Licht enjoys both, but while Hina's is clearly superior, Licht is put on the spot when the crowd demands he choose a winner. He is saved from having to disappoint one of them when Murdoch arrives and berates Lin for being distracted again. Licht threatens to run away, placing the blame on Murdoch instead of Peel Poporo and Lin. After a short fight, Nana steps in and berates them both for acting like children and damaging the town square. Surprisingly, even Murdoch is overwhelmed by her forceful personality and does as she says, even joining in the festivities. The next morning, Murdoch, Lin and Peel awaken, hungover, with Nana, Licht and Hina having snuck away during the night. As they chase them, they come across an injured soldier from another town which has been completely destroyed. Murdoch finds no survivors. The lake next to the town has disappeared under an enormous abyss. An injured soldier appears and claims a fire-breathing demon flew out of the abyss. Murdoch insists it must be a ballot holder with fire abilities. Lin and Peel take the soldier for treatment in the next town where they find Licht, Hina and Nana. Murdoch confronts Licht, convinced he knows something. Nana angrily bans them from fighting, so instead they have a drinking contest. Murdoch drunkenly accuses Licht of being the legendary ace and demands to know why the army are looking for him. Licht provokes Murdoch into drinking even more while Nana decides to join in too. Lin becomes tipsy after only one glass and asks Hina what her relationship with Licht is. Licht and Murdoch eventually pass out. Both Lin and Hina try to let Licht use their laps as a pillow. The lake abyss suddenly appears, destroying part of the town, and begins emanating a strange noise. Murdoch orders the civilians evacuated while Licht recognizes the sound. He claims the sound is impossible as all such demons were defeated during the Waste War. He and Murdoch watch as the abyss opens and the demon is revealed to be a modern helicopter armed with machine guns and missiles. The helicopter attacks and Licht tells everyone to take cover, but Murdoch resists Licht taking command. Licht reveals he holds a military rank of colonel and draws the helicopter's attention while Murdoch is confused how a criminal could be a colonel. Everyone begins cheering as Licht attacks the helicopter, but the abyss stops him. Lin reveals the military calls the abyss arms Althing. Althing tries to grab the helicopter while Licht attacks Althing but is shocked by it repeatedly. Hina asks Murdoch to help but he refuses as attacking Althing is punishable by execution and he will not let anyone break the law. However, Murdoch accidentally loses his glasses. Unable to see any laws being broken, Murdoch attacks Althing and the soldiers all coincidentally go blind as well. They create a ladder for Licht to reach the helicopter, but he is shocked after seeing inside the cockpit. The helicopter is suddenly shot down by the homicidally insane ace of pursuit Sonohara Mizuka, who possesses the number 32,000. She shoots Murdoch and begins murdering everybody, revealing she is obsessed with following the last order Licht gave her during the Waste War, to kill everybody. Sonohara reveals Licht's real name is Rihido and she wants him to revert to his former bloodthirsty personality and kill her, or she will murder a nearby child. Licht snaps and kills her men so fast their bodies simply disappear. Licht finally answers Hina and Murdoch's questions of who he is. He is the plunderer and he dreams of claiming everything in the country for himself. Licht engages in a star stake with Sonohara, and Licht is shot in the chest several times. A red power violently erupts from Licht, increasing the count on his sword to 57,000, and he begins moving so fast Sonohara cannot see him. Nana reveals that Licht has been taken over by an evil alternate personality called Schmelman. Schmelman defeats Sonohara and her count drops to 16,000, causing Nana to suspect Sonohara had also been under the influence of an evil personality. Based on her knowledge of Licht's past, Nana explains Sonohara was actually the kindest of the aces who never killed anyone, but someone must have drugged her to fight Licht, hoping Schmelman would emerge. Hina desperately hugs him so Schmelman almost kills her, but Sonohara saves her. As Schmelman moves to kill Sonohara, she has a flashback to modern Japan when she and Licht were in high school together. Schmelman is stopped by Murdoch, who challenges him despite the bullet in his chest. As they duel, Schmelman begins to cry and claims he kills enemies so his friends won't have to. Deciding to honor this, Murdoch fights with all his power and creates an Iron Warrior which knocks Schmelman unconscious, turning him back into Licht. Murdoch passes out from his injury. Elsewhere, a general tells several children a darker, alternate version of the tortoise and the hare, and one of his soldiers reveals his name is General Schmelman Bach. As Licht recovers, his star stake with Sonohara is left unfinished, so Althing can't leave, and begins molesting the girls, except for Hina. Murdoch is summoned by Supreme Commander Alexandrov Gregorovich, his childish but doting adoptive father. Murdoch demands to know about Sonohara's soldiers who wore black uniforms. Gregorovich reveals they are the Special Services Unit, or SSU, that serves the royal family as spies, kidnappers, and assassins. Concerning Licht, Gregorovich reveals the aces were surgically altered human weapons for the Waste Wars, and Licht was the strongest member of the strongest squad. A side effect of the surgery caused the aces to stop aging, explaining Licht still being alive. Gregorovich suddenly reveals he knows Murdoch's number has dropped to 12,499 and demands to know if he knows Licht's location. Murdoch lies, and it drops to 12,498, so Gregorovich reveals he also knows that attacked Althing. Murdoch returns to finally arrest Licht, who surrenders. A nearby spy reveals they want Licht to continue plundering. Licht asks Murdoch several questions to determine if he is being blackmailed, and Murdoch keeps lying, dropping his number to 12,496 before trying to arrest Licht. Nana reveals she herself is an ace and, with an unexplained power, sends Murdoch, Hina, Peel, and Lin to modern Japan, begging them to change the past where she failed. In Japan, they see Sonohara and Licht, then known as Rihido, as teenagers in high school. After following Rihido into the school, they are confronted by a delinquent and Murdoch realizes his ballot is missing and he can no longer control iron. Captain Allen and Lieutenant Firenda explain Japan is the only country left after a global war and the school is actually a military academy. The headmaster, Major Schmelman, who begins by reading his version of the tortoise and the hare, then having Allen shoot 3 recruits who left. Rihido takes Schmelman hostage, so Schmelman teaches Rihido how to break his neck, but Rihido refuses and instead offers to die in Hina's place, ignoring Schmelman's intense killing aura. Firenda calms the situation by revealing the recruits are alive as Allen had used paint bullets to make a point about obeying orders. Schmelman takes an interest in Rihido's potential while Murdoch is confused that Rihido is clearly a young Licht, yet looks nothing like his future self at all. Peel tries to research Althing on a computer but is blocked. Instead, Allen explains Althing was a super advanced technology of unknown origin that fell to Earth in the middle of the war. It had the power to force all humans to obey its will following a vote, so humanity voted to destroy nuclear weaponry and ban all war. However, this had unintended consequences that Allen refuses to talk about. Murdoch begins to suspect Nana not only wants them to help Licht, she wants them to discover the true origin or Althing and save their future society. Schmelman decides to instruct everyone personally. Alan spies on them and overhears them talk about the Abyss, ballots, and the country of Alsha. Schmelman gives students 2 stars, explaining students who gather 10 join the military straight away, but anyone who loses them is expelled. Stars are earned by performing tasks or stealing from classmates. Murdoch and Hina realize this is the origin of star stakes. Rahito is given no stars and told to steal 1 or be expelled. Licht claims not to care as he is only there to convince his adopted brother, Sakai Takakazi, to return home. Don, the delinquent, breaks into people's lockers and steals their stars, including Sakai's, threatening Sakai's grandmother when he resists, as Don's parents are her landlords. To prevent expulsion, everyone shares their stars, but none is left for Sakai. Sakai refuses to return home because soldiers' families get more food and their grandmother is already ill from malnutrition. Murdoch gives Sakai his remaining star, then confronts Don just outside the gate, warning him the moment Don leaves Academy property he will cripple him before his military career even begins. Schmelman interrupts and it is revealed Rahito pickpocketed Don's stolen stars, leaving him with only 2 and unable to graduate yet. For his loyalty to his classmates, Schmelman gives Murdoch 2 stars. Rahito keeps 2 stars and decides to stay to convince Sakai to return home, reasoning that as long as they are at the academy they can send their own food rations to their grandmother. The academy orders the class to find the culprit spying on the bats. The girls attempt to catch Rahito spying, causing Murdoch to see Lin naked. When the girls decide to abandon embarrassment like disciplined soldiers, Rahito gives up spying, disappointed at their willingness to become killers. Schmelman suggests becoming soldiers that do not kill by becoming so powerful they scare opponents into surrendering. Murdoch follows Schmelman to a hidden facility and learns they are trying to replicate Althing's voting power since Althing got rid of nuclear weapons, but not war itself, and other countries are already preparing for a new war. Murdoch is saved from being caught by a girl with time-traveling powers revealed to be a young Nana, the very first ace called Ace of Knowing. She explains some humans, like Schmelman, can genetically harmonize with Althing to gain powers, but normal humans like Murdoch can only harmonize using ballots. The ACE surgery involves implanting Schmelman's DNA into normal children to give them his genetic ability, which only Nana survive, and eventually so will Rahito, Sonohara, and 4 others, making 7 aces in total. Unable to reveal more, Nana gives Murdoch a modern memory card from future Nana containing the reason she sent them there. Murdoch promises to see Nana in 300 years, but as he is escaping he is caught by Captain Allen, who sentences him to execution. Murdoch realizes Allen is a young Alexandrov Grigorovich, his future foster father. Allen realizes Nana is trying to change the future and lets Murdoch live. He takes Murdoch and the others into a citizens' housing area and demonstrates that there is no practical way to feed everyone and asks them to cease getting in the military's way. Now knowing how Rahito will become Licht, they cannot decide how to proceed since both they and their home country of Alsha will never exist unless Licht wins the Waste War. Murdoch demands hand-to-hand training from Allen, deciding he must defeat Allen in his future and become Supreme Commander in his place. Schmelman begins training everyone with medieval weaponry, explaining that guns will soon become obsolete, therefore the strongest soldiers will be those trained in melee combat. In secret, Schmelman reveals the coming war is meant to kill off the surplus human population so the species can survive. Schmelman takes the students to the beach for capture the flag training, which Rahito's class wins by fleeing with the flag instead of fighting and outwitting Don the delinquent. The class decide to make Rahito their commander. One of Schmelman's subordinates, David, is killed on a mission but manages to send a message to Schmelman. Fearing the ACE project is in danger, Schmelman finally begins human testing, the strongest genetic candidate for which is Rahito. After having the situation explained to him, Rahito agrees to the surgery. Murdoch, unwilling to risk Alsha never existing, decides to stop anyone interfering with Rahito's surgery. Don steals Sonohara's remaining star, claiming she is too weak for war, so getting her expelled will save her. Murdoch lectures Sonohara for relying on Rahito instead of growing stronger, but gives her one of his stars. Lin admits she loves Licht. Hina decides to let Rahito become Licht but prevent him killing so he never develops his Schmelman personality, and Alsha will still be created after the war. Peel almost admits he loves Lin, but a foreign country suddenly attacks the academy, which shouldn't be possible due to Althing banning war. Soldiers begin slaughtering the students, but Don saves Sonohara while Murdoch saves most of their classmates. Fyrender realizes that of the 7 ballots needed for an Althing vote, 4 are in foreign nations, meaning they must have secretly voted to allow war again. The enemy cuts off the electricity, risking Rahito dying from the incomplete surgery. The entire class fights their way to the emergency generator, many of them becoming injured or killed, and Alan receives his future trademark facial scar, saving them from a rocket. Rahido's hair turns white as he begins to die. Hina is caught by a soldier and calls out for Licht. Murdoch reactivates the electricity and Rahido survives. Schmelman gives Rahido his trademark sword, explaining it is a replica ballot that must be activated with an oath of his choosing measured by a number. Rahido defeats soldiers with super speed, earning his name Ace of Flashing Strikes. The soldiers' commander reveals they have a nuclear bomb and the switch is hidden in one of their bodies, meaning Rahido must kill or die. Left with no choice, Rahido beheads them. Before dying, the commander reveals he lied about the bomb and commends Rahido for saving his friends. Rahido breaks down over breaking his oath not to kill, and Hina, Murdoch, Lin and Peel begin to glow as they are pulled back to their own time. Rahido decides the only way to ensure his friends don't kill is to do all the killing himself and swears his ballot will count the enemies he kills on behalf of others. Realizing she never could have stopped Rahido becoming Licht, Hina decides the only thing to do is to love him completely and strips naked, forcing Rahido to fondle her breasts as a memory to hold onto throughout the war, and swears she will be waiting for him in 300 years' time to marry him and carry his children so he will never be lonely again. The waste war begins. Rahido, now Licht, begins slaughtering thousands of the enemy, hiding his face behind a mask. 4 of his classmates receive the ace surgery: Sakai, Don, Sonohara and Captain Allen. Schmelman decides the world is beyond saving and begins planning a utopia called Alsha. Rahido eventually goes insane and severs Sonohara's left arm. 2 years later, the war ends when Schmelman, having now retrieved all 7 ballots, uses them to create Alsha floating above the ruined planet. He destroyed all means of contacting the surface and creates Alsha's population from the DNA of all races and kept the population in check by sending anyone with a 0 ballot count to the abyss, revealed to be a portal to the planet's surface. It is also revealed Althing sustains Alsha by continuously stealing resources from the survivors on the surface. Learning the Sakai stole a ballot, so Rahido killed him on Schmelman's orders, but murdering his brother sent him into a coma. After he finally woke up, he learned every member of his class remained on the surface and committed suicide. That day, he and Nana escaped Schmelman, and for 300 years Licht never removed his mask and barely spoke, even to Nana, until he met Hina. Nana reveals to a returned Hina she was worried Licht had decided to destroy Alsha to save the planet, risking his own life. She had always known it was impossible for them to change the past, but hopes they have learned how to save the future. Hina approaches Licht, offers him her breasts, and tells him to continue where they started 300 years ago. Hina becomes depressed when Licht turns her down, as he is over 300 years old and she is still a teenager. Hina gets drunk instead and tries to force Licht to grope her. Nana becomes upset in private as she also loves Licht, yet it was Hina who made him happy. Seeing this, Murdoch punches Licht for being an idiot, then shows him the memory card young Nana gave him from future Nana. The video contains clips young Nana recorded deciding to become Licht's wife, then documenting their 300 years together after the war, during which Licht never removed his mask or even said a word, and her growing belief Licht hates her. Licht begins to cry and apologizes, revealing he was ashamed to remove his mask because he had lost his smile and didn't want Nana to have to see his fake smile. The next day, everyone is more cheerful as they visit a nearby beach. Lin becomes depressed after realizing she is the most overweight among the ladies. Irritated, Hina catches Licht in an animal trap and demands to know why he keeps leaving her. Licht reveals he knew Hina's mother, Tsukina Pharaoh. Licht reveals Tsukina was his childhood friend who somehow survived 300 years without the ace surgery and stole the 10,000 ballot from Schmelman 5 years ago, leaving Schmelman with only 3 ballots. Licht reveals Hina's father was Licht's adopted brother, Takakazi Sakai, whom Licht murdered. Hina, Nana, Lin and Peel pass out from wine drugged by Licht, who explains he is leaving to defeat the army, however Murdoch resists the drug. The SSU begin assassinating army commanders and demand Grigorovich hand over the other 3 ballots held by the army. Grigorovich reveals that the creation of Alsha must be revoted periodically, but since Tsukina stole the ballot, Alsha is in danger of falling out of the sky. As Grigorovich and his ace allies cannot choose what to do, Grigorovich decides to ask Alsha's king to choose. Murdoch berates Licht about the pain he causes to his friends, but Licht insists it is still better he kill so others don't have to. As Licht leaves, he reveals his desire to stay with Hina and hopes he can see her again before the end. The next morning, everyone recovers from the drug and chase after Licht. Schmelman sends another ace to intercept Licht, Don, whose power over gravity pins Licht to the ground, nullifying his speed. As he is about to be crushed, all Licht can think of is seeing Hina again. Hina and the others find Licht unconscious before being captured by the SSU. Murdoch confronts Gregorovich, revealing he knows he is Captain Allen, and demands a star stake, though first he demands to know why Gregorovich betrayed the world. Gregorovich melts Murdoch's iron, revealing he is the ace of explosive strikes. He explains he had a son and daughter who were murdered for their food. Gregorovich found the murderer but couldn't kill him as the murderer only wanted the food for his own child. Gregorovich instead blamed their failing society, and when an opportunity came to create a better world, he took it. With Murdoch defeated, his count is reduced to 1. Murdoch challenges him again, pointing out Gregorovich chose to raise him as his son instead of asking Nana to send him back in time to save his own children. Gregorovich refuses and fires Murdoch from the military so he can return to his friends. Hina, Lin and Peel are imprisoned by Schmelman, and Hina demands to know why he betrayed his students. Schmelman reveals he supported the non-killing army to weed out the weak and find people like Rahito for the ace surgery. He orders Don to perform the ace surgery on them and leaves. However, Don refuses to let anyone become an ace who did not suffer through the waste war and kills his own men to set them free. As they are leaving, Hina accidentally drops the 10,000 ballot. Furious that they might be plotting to destroy Alsha after he and the aces suffered to create it in the first place, Don decides to kill them. Lin escapes, but Don shoots her through the stomach as she flees on horseback. Hina stands up to Don and insists Licht will save them. Don decides to wager their lives on her certainty. If Licht appears by morning, he will let them live, including Nana, but if Licht does not appear, he will kill them all. Lin finds Licht and tries to perform CPR but passes out from blood loss. She is saved by her friends from her village, who encourage her to tell Licht about her feelings. After she finally tells an unconscious Licht her feelings, she knows he doesn't feel anything for her and urges him to save the woman he loves, Hina. Licht finally wakes up. Hina claims Don must secretly want Licht to succeed, or he would have checked to see if Licht was really dead after he crushed him. Don angrily denies this just as Licht appears. Peel and Nana take Lin for treatment while Licht finally tells Hina he always loved her, but his guilt for killing her father made him keep it a secret. Hina kisses him and promises to stay with him and have his children, though Licht insists on waiting for an appropriate time. Licht confronts Don and apologizes for breaking the promise they made 300 years ago by now trying to destroy the Alsha they fought to create. Sonohara suddenly appears, once more affected by her dark personality, and shoots Licht. Schmelman watches and wonders if Licht is capable of defeating 2 of his old friends. Sonohara blames Licht for constantly rejecting her no matter how hard she tried to catch up to him, and Don blames Licht for Sonohara going insane, and for their classmates who all died for his dream of the non-killing army. To save them, Licht almost activates his Schmelman personality but is prevented at the last second by Murdoch. It is revealed his count falling to 1 has reduced the amount of iron Murdoch can summon to a single piece, but he blocks all Sonohara's shots and doubts her conviction of her own power, rendering her psychologically incapable of hitting her targets. Sonohara admits she no longer wants to shoot him and breaks down crying. Licht insists the idea of Alsha was flawed from the start, so he plans to start again with his new non-killing army. He and Don engage in a fist fight and beat each other bloody while revealing Licht was always incapable of murdering children, even on the battlefield, so the enemy sent child assassins after him, requiring Don to kill hundreds of children to keep Licht alive. Don refuses to let Licht start a new war, and Licht refuses to let Alsha keep on stealing from the weak. Deciding it is necessary for one of them to die, Don creates a black hole, from which not even light can escape, to cancel out Licht's light speed movements, and Licht is sucked into the black hole and vanishes. Licht awakens in the gravity well, and several masks of the aces criticize Licht's actions and advise him to give up and die. Licht realizes he was wrong to kill so his classmates wouldn't have to and decides to die. Hina shouts for Licht to come back, and Licht remembers his promise. He destroys the masks and splits the gravity well, allowing him to escape and knock a disbelieving Don unconscious. Don recovers, returns Hina's ballot, then leaves. Lin awakens and accepts Licht rejected her. Murdoch reminds Nana he promised to play with her when he returned to the future. Peel confronts Licht in secret, demanding to know how Licht knew Peel could perform life-saving surgery on Lin. Licht reveals he has known for a long time Peel is secretly a member of the SSU, but decided he wasn't a threat due to his feelings for Lin. Lin's villager friends try to have Peel confess his feelings for Lin, but he instead returns to bickering with her over a meal. Hina strips a reluctant and scandalized Licht naked, revealing her mother had a sense of humor surrounding sex education. Her seduction is interrupted by Murdoch, to Licht's relief, to discuss their next move. Licht decides to collect all 7 ballots, not to destroy Alsha, but to find a way for humanity to survive without Althing. Schmelman begins planning to take over the capital city, and several unseen figures suggest Licht's classmates are still alive. This is the end of the video, so please watching all of my anime recap series. Thanks for watching.